your favorite fighter it looks like he's in talks to fight someone you've never heard of for about $40 million. I'm talking about Canelo Alvarez, folks.
Not my favorite dude.
Canelo Alvarez they're looking at his Cinco de Mayo date of being, taking place a fight in Japan against Murata. Now, this is part of an 11-fight, $365 million deal, which, as you heard when we announced it on the OZone, the problem that everybody has with it, we talked about it when it first broke, is when you give a guy that kind of money, you're basically saying he needs to be knocked out, drug out of the stadium to get a loss.
Left in the parking lot.
Yeah. And then maybe he'll get the decision. Depending on the judges. Then maybe.
Depending on the judges.
Maybe.
Now, people go hard on us because they say we go too hard on Canelo, but this is just bad for the sport.
Yeah, and you know what?
There's guys he can fight that are up to code.
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
Well, that's the problem in boxing now is, can you fight the guys who are in front of you or should be?
And this is why UFC has been able to inch in and edge in on boxing's territory.
Well, this guy that he's getting ready to fight is what, 14-2
Yeah,
or something like that?
14-2.
Come on, dude.
Well, that's-
Canelo's 1-2.
Yeah, but that's kind of the UFC style, right? Like UFC,
but
we take a guy, we give him a bunch of tomato cans, we build him up a record. Oh, he's undefeated or he has only one loss in his career. He's amazing, title shot. Oh, look, he disappeared. Next guy.
But the thing is in UFC, guys also may be like,
And you have the potential.
9-5, but you never know who could win because they might have went back to the lab and worked on the move.
Or you could break somebody's leg and all of a sudden this guy's...
Yeah. But in boxing, the chances of these guys, it's so lopsided.
The chances of this guy beating Canelo are so far... I mean, first of all, he can't win a decision.
He's never going to win a decision.
No.
And he's not a knockout artist.
Versus 5 to 6 guys that, just off the top of your head, that he could fight that will be compelling fights.
But to see, and this is the thing is, and this is where Floyd was smart.
And he hurt the sport.
But he hurt the sport is, you're fighting guys who unless God inhabits that guy's body and throws lightning, this guy's beat you. He's never going to knock him out.
Never going to knock you out. Yeah.
So unless some kind of divine intervention happens, or unless someone takes a dive.
And okay, I did a film once. I tell people this all the time. I did a film once where I played a crooked boxing promoter, and they had me shadow a guy in New York City that was a boxing promoter, and his main thing that he imparted to me was, look, it's fixed. You may not want to believe it as a fan or as an athlete yourself. He said, but this stuff is fixed, and it's not fixed in the way that you think is obvious that a guy just takes a dive. Guys take a dive via the ref, via the judges, via the guy who's the beneficiary of the dive doesn't usually know, so that you continue to pump his confidence until it's his turn, and then once it's his turn to take the dive, you toy with him and you play with his confidence, you play with his mind.
Right.
In this scenario, I have to go on record every time and say this. I don't believe Canelo Alvarez is afraid to fight anybody on the planet. I don't think Canelo Alvarez is afraid to fight Anthony Joshua.
I don't think he's a coward anyway. That's the thing people say that I hate.
I don't think that. I do think that he is A-okay with benefiting from the system that he was able to get to the top of with assistance.
Yeah.
And
that's
the problem that I have.
But I just told you the other day, I didn't believe Canelo was a part of this until this fight got announced. And because I kept going back and forth with him saying, literally, dude, you think he knows what's going on? And we would go back and forth. I believe that he knows now. And I honestly believe that it's not a fear factor, because I don't believe that fighters are afraid, but I do believe that Canelo is not willing to take a chance on losing. This is the same reason why there's no way that he could think that he won that first Triple G fight. There is no way on the planet that he could think that he won that fight.
No, but here's what happens, unfortunately, is we are invested in the hero mentality and storyline.
Wow, preach on it.
Right? So then we have to set up the hero, and then we have to draw him out, because that's how the money's made, right? So we just keep drawing him out. And here's, again, what people who don't love the sport, they just pony up and show up and give people money for a fight that's going to be boring.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part that sucks, is it's
Herein
not fun.
this is the problem. This isn't all right. Anyway, that's anybody who doesn't want to, because everybody thinks that it's a personal thing that we have, but in real life,
I just want to see what's best for the sport.
I'd rather see him fight Charlo. I'd even rather see him fight Bubu Andrade. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Sergey Derevchenko. I obviously I would like to see the third Triple G fight.
Yeah.
If we want to go up to 168, fight Caleb Plant, fight Callum Smith, fight David Benavidez Jr. I don't think you should go to 175 because you already picked the tomato can of 175 and it looked like he took a dive.
Yeah.
And you don't want any work with Artur Beterbiev.
Bivol.
You definitely don't want any work with Bivol. I just don't, it makes me look like a hater, but at the same time, I'm just telling it like it is. And when you read the comment section, you recognize that we're not alone in this.
No, and this is the problem that boxing has as a sport, right? When you think back to great all-time boxers, it's because they fought people.
Fought
at the right time.
Well,
Yes.
And I used to know Randy Shields, right?
Okay.
Almost nobody knows who Randy Shields is unless you're a real boxing guy, right? But you look at the list of guys that he fought. He fought real boxers. He's got a history, right?
How is he supposed to be undefeated?
Well,
he can't be undefeated with the lineup.
Right, and you look at these old-time boxers, right? You look at Hearns, and you
you crazy?
Right, like
Hagler, Leonard.
Hagler,
I mean,
Leonard.
come on, man. You got Julio Cesar Chavez.
The B-level guys in that era would run the table now.
Well,
the B-level guys, a guy like Terry Norris, who fought everybody.
Let me tell you something.
A guy like Iran Barkley, who fought everybody.
But even Floyd Mayweather Sr.
Yep.
I mean, come on, dude. People,
And Roger.
Yeah, and Roger. Both of them. They would have run it because the thing is,
And forget about Purnell.
But
Forget about Burnell Whitaker and Meldrick Taylor and all these guys.
Well, and that's the thing is, but that's why we still remember those guys.
But to play devil's advocate, that is also why these guys die young. I catch them in the gym sometimes walking around and they have the CTE.
Right.
They take the punishment. It is what you're signing up for.
You signed up for that.
Well, this is the
You
thing.
didn't necessarily sign up for CTE, but I
Well, but that's again.
but
that's
you kind of
why-
did.
I hope not.
But you kind of did.
But that's like sports, right? That's why wealthy athletes aren't going into these sports anymore. That's
Right.
why. That's the other
100%.
problem. That's part of the
100%.
reason why we're losing boxing, right?
Yes.
And it's the same reason like UFC, right? These guys come up, they're all in.
Yeah.
And they get knocked out or take a little damage, and they transition into an announcer. They're on ESPN.
Right.
And I don't blame them, right? You made your way. And this is also the economics of sports in this country in particular, because we push sports. The economics is
Big business.
It's huge business. Youth sports is like a $15 billion a year
Right.
Big money.
industry, right? And
Travel
you're looking,
ball, AAU.
yeah, and you're looking at college, right? This is why minority athletes are getting pushed out of college.
And it's also why they're getting pushed into college without getting paid.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
they're making other people a lot of dough.
They're
that they
making
don't
people
have
trillions of dollars.
trillion,
right?
crazy dough.
Right? And
Crazy dough.
This is the thing. We're losing the sport, but you can't blame the guy who goes, hey,
I
I'll go
can't
take
be
a-
mad at Canelo
No,
because
it's
this
the world
is
he
going to
came
be the fifth fight out of that deal, something like that, of which 3 of them have been suspect, I want to say.
Danny Jacobs was the only one. And now I have to question Danny Jacobs.
Jeez.
See, but then who in this time period, right?
Which also is not on Canelo, though.
No, that's
No.
not.
So
No, it's
Canelo
not.
took the right fight, and that fight was with the guy that actually posed the threat. I can't. So that's a tricky line there, but
No, I know what you're saying, but just going back to what you said about how you worked in the film, and the whole theory that applies to that bout. You know what I'm saying? Everybody.
I
don't want to say that. I don't want to say no.
I'm not going to question
I'm not gonna
Danny's
question-
integrity.
No, but do you think because that fight was so dangerous that these are now like, oh no, we can't get that close again?
Perhaps,
Right?
perhaps.
Yeah.
But this is what we're saying.
Oh, we almost lost our investment.
If
They almost lost it against Kovalev. He wouldn't throw his punches.
Yep.
it's unbelievable. But on the flip side, the last thing I'm going to stick with that is, you could also say though, they're protecting their investment in a different way, because the zone is huge in Japan, and they're having this fight in Japan.
This guy's supposed to be a megastar in Japan.
This is what I'm saying. So actually, I can be mad all I want, but this is actually good business for the people that own the zone, and it helps enhance the subscribers.
And it might
and
help
they're
boxing.
and in that, it actually might help boxing if he goes over there and gives the guy a spectacular knockout, and you have a big piece of Japan. Now, the bigger issue that I have is, in a world where guys only fight 2 times a year, it's hard to squander one of those fights on something that doesn't really matter.
Right.
Moving on in the boxing, though, in a not surprising but stupid move, Andy Ruiz Jr. fired Manny Robles.
You trying to blame him for his lack of conditioning?
What did Manny Robles? Manny Robles can't make you show up to the gym.
Can't make you show up, dude. I'm texting you. I'm calling you.
What do you want me to do? You weigh 300 pounds. I can't even push you in the gym. What do you want me to do?
But that's the thing. I mean, how many times do you see a fighter in particular, in the fighting game in particular, where guys start to either sleep their way out of or eat their way out of the sport?
All the time.
We talk about it. It's not even just boxers.
Yeah.
This is, but in Andy's situation, this was so clear cut. This was like, and then when you listen after the fight, the way that he apologized to Manny Robles and the way that he apologized to his father, who both of them were like, they seem united in the sense that it was like, hey man, we told you.
But now he's out.
And the thing is you come to find that Andy Ruiz Sr. is Andy Ruiz Jr.'s manager. I didn't know that. And so I thought he was just his dad.
I did too.
Just his dad. That was, you know what I mean? So he's his manager, and he's the one who delivered the news, because we kept, the word on the curb kept being after the fight. Manny was like, man, I've been at the gym. I haven't heard from Andy. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Right.
I'm calling him or texting him.
He won't come through. And that was even the word a little bit before the fight.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we find out that Andy's training himself.
And then Andy comes out and says he's training himself for the Nathan's hot dog competition.
But man, that was a good line. That was wrong, but it was good.
Yeah, that just there's not really much to cover there. It's just really I don't appreciate
this goes back to square one, man. You got to deflate gate, and the guy who let the air out of the ball gets in trouble.
It does.
I mean, come on, dude.
Well, some of these trainers, right? They build these guys. They build them and build them and build them, and then same thing. I'm always like, okay, who stepped in and swooped in and made this big decision? Because now the question is, what comes next?
We're going to see what comes next, because I think they're trying to go with a new year, new you approach.
Ultimately, Dillian White, I do believe,
and he's going to get knocked out if he doesn't get
knocked out anyway.
Andrew Ruiz, and in shape Andy Ruiz, his version of in shape, can be a serious problem for everybody in the heavyweight division. I don't believe that he's interested. He's tasted, pun intended, big money. He's tasted crazy money. If Andy gets one more fight, does Andy or any other Ruiz ever need to do anything again?
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
there's talk that he got $30 million for that Joshua rematch. He got $6 million for the first fight. Let's not act like that's chump change. So we talk about crazy numbers.
I know, in sports, right? We're like, he only made $6 million. Poor guy.
What's he gonna do?
Right? What? Man, that's chump change. Yeah. I mean, everybody else is, and you're like,
I'll take $6
million. There's a lot of people going, six what?
Yeah, exactly.
What do I say?
Exactly. Yeah, let Anthony Joshua knock me out for $6.
Right? He can knock you out for cheaper than that. No, I got a coupon.
No, don't do it. Don't give it to him.
I got a coupon, dude. Come on in, Anthony. We got it.
Line him up.
No, don't jerk.
Fish wants some too. Got a 2 for 1.
2 for 1.
Give me my $6 million. It's all good. But yeah, so you have that. We got a fight that's actually going on right now. We'll talk about that on the next pod, with Danny Garcia is making his return. And Jared Hurd is making his return for the first fight since he got knocked out by J-Rock. And he won that fight. He got some rounds in and he ended up winning the fight against Santana. But the fight that I want to talk about is J-Rock, Julian Williams, losing his belts at home to the Cuban Banana, Jason Rosario, which was awesome because I was watching the fight. And the gym that I trained at in Miami, the trainers were his trainers.
Oh, wow.
These are guys that have put me through the paces and watched me sweat and, you know what I mean, the whole song and dance. And I was like, oh, there he is in the thing. And I tell you, this kid's going to be a problem at 54 for everybody. Did you end up watching the fight?
Yeah, he dropped some bombs.
Man, he dropped the 1s and 2s. This wasn't a situation where Julian Williams wasn't prepared.
No.
He got overpowered.
He got overpowered. He got walked through.
And those hands looked heavy.
Oh, my goodness.
Heavy and fast.
Sledgehammers.
They were heavy, but they were fast.
You saw him at the beginning, first couple rounds when they were trading. J-Rock was landing his punches. Yeah. Yep. And the dude was landing his punches like, hey, now,
and that's the problem.
This.
Yes, and he was like, okay.
Yeah, I can take yours. Yeah. Can you take this?
Yes,
now I'm about to go to 5th gear.
All right. And then I'm chirping out. I got posse.
It was like, uh-oh.
And you saw J-Rock's leg goes like, whoa, okay, he's in a little trouble.
And they even went and talked to his trainer. And the trainer was like, yeah, we knew this was he was gonna, but we're prepared. We're prepared for a real fight.
Right.
Wow. And he got beat up. And then people had the nerve to talk about that was a premature stoppage. When you want to see the guy get his brains beat in?
Right. That was right on time.
That was great work by the ref.
It is. And that's one of those examples where people want to get mad because they wanted to see the knockout.
Right.
But
you got to see a knockout. He was out on his feet.
But we're in a different world now. Like, you can't let him take 2 or 3 more monster shots and then hit
guaranteed
the ground.
CTE.
Well, that's the thing.
If not worse, immediately.
Especially if he hits the ground after that. Like, that was the right stop.
Man, he got beat up. He was getting beat up. He was about to get really, really hurt.
But his game plan was flawed, though. He needed to work off of that jab, and with a guy that thumps like that, you got to keep him at bay and soften him up to get him to slide into the 1-2, 1-2-2.
So big.
Yes, and then but he went out there. He went out there and tried to outslug the slugger.
Like a little 154, and I think that was the problem. With
too much heart,
and also with him fighting at home. And with the way that he acquired the belts from Jarrett Hurd by beating a slugger.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he actually ended up breaking down Jarrett Hurd and getting him out of there. And Jarrett Hurd was known as the biggest puncher in the league at 54.
Yeah, and you come in thinking,
if I can do it to Hurd,
if I can do it to him,
that's it.
And then it's the hometown thing too.
The hometown thing is enormous.
People never talk about it.
You can't.
Because Evander Holyfield almost ran into it back in the day in Atlanta and almost lost his belt.
Your boy Gervonta Davis almost did the same thing just happened to him with a guy with a torn Achilles.
With Achilles!
He fooled around with Achilles, and he still had a hard time getting that dude out of there. You look at his face, he got touched in that fight, which makes no sense. With the homie Agamboa, with Yorokis. But yeah, so now, what's next for Jay? I love seeing his face when he won, though, man. He was, man, that dude, he did the work,
awesome,
and he was
man.
it was beautiful.
And what was beautiful about it, though, is that J-Rock actually prepared for it. And he prepared for that fight. It wasn't like he didn't come in there prepared or anything.
I respect them both.
I respect them both. The better guy won that night.
Yes.
But that's great boxing.
Sure is.
Like, that's what
That's
boxing
an even matchup,
needs, right?
yes.
Boxing needs that, where you look at it and you go, wow, I want to see those two.
I want to see both of them, even if it's not against each other. I don't think Julian Williams is done.
No.
Right.
He's got to go back to the lab.
Yeah. And I think, but that's what great boxing is, right? The first time you really get tested, you learn something about the boxer.
Right.
The first time you get knocked out, you learn, can that guy overcome the fear, right? Because until you've been knocked out,
you don't know.
You don't know. And that's
100%.
what defines whether you're a great boxer.
Or a good boxer. We talk about it.
Who's your favorite fighter?
Oh, man.
All time. You got to cover it all.
He gave me the hand. It was
that was
all
up there.
time.
I'm looking at it in space all time.
Give it, keep it going because we want to keep it moving.
Maybe Sugar.
Sugar Ray Robinson or Leonard?
Leonard. Only because I like. Wait, wow, no judgment there. There's something about the style and the speed and the people that were there at the time, I think.
Nobody's questioning Sugar Ray Leonard's
like Robinson. There's
Sugar Ray Robinson fought everybody. He didn't hardly lose until the end, and his record is like on
absurd.
the next.
Then he took it to Mexico.
Then he took it to Mexico.
Get some more.
But you start looking at that time period. I don't have the same love for that time period, and maybe it's because you
weren't there.
That I was about to say. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Right? Like,
it's hard. There's so much nostalgia involved when you think of fights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think of who you watched them with, where you were.
Yeah.
It's so tied to you.
Yeah.
So it's hard. We can only look at footage. It's like ball players. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, I personally can make a very strong argument that Ricky Henderson is the greatest baseball player of all time. People think I'm crazy until I actually get into it.
And they look at his numbers.
And they look at his numbers. But if you ever watched a collection of games, I don't know if I saw a guy dominate the game top to bottom like Ricky Henderson.
And you had to watch him.
Must-see TV. He was must-see TV.
Must-see every time.
162 games a year, he's must-see TV.
Okay, when Lofton came in, when he talked about second base, did he talk about stealing at second base? Did he talk about what you look for? Did he talk about shoulders and elbows?
Well, one of the things that he talked to about us was the fact that the slide step
changed the game,
the base stealing game.
Yeah.
And about how it changed his personal game and how he was still able to succeed at that point. And even if you look at Ricky's numbers on the slide step, one of the things that made Ricky so impressive was he was still able to steal, but he wasn't stealing 130 bases a year like he was when the slide step wasn't invented. But no, he incorporated.
Yeah, Ricky is the first guy I ever heard talk about elbows, about watching elbows to steal from second to third. He goes, the easiest base to steal. Right?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, watch the hands, watch the feet. And he goes, just watch his elbow. He can't throw you the ball without it.
Ricky, man, I got the opportunity to hang out with Ricky Henderson a couple times.
Amazing.
He bought me dinner, and I tried everything I could to get the check. He wouldn't let me get it.
Awesome.
We had great conversations.
Yeah,
man,
unbelievable.
My favorite.
Must watch. He was.
It's like you can't. But see, that's the same thing I'm saying about the fighting.
Yeah.
You can't explain what it was like to watch Ricky Henderson in 1988,
right.
1980,
yeah.
1979 to 2000.
Yeah.
Well, you have to really. You need to get a grasp on a Ricky rally. I mean,
you have to understand what a Ricky rally even is.
I know. You don't even know what that is. Nobody can do that in sports. I hate to go down to the rabbit hole, but honestly, let's go.
There's I can't think of one other guy I want in the clutch situation as far as his abilities. Tight game, nothing, 7th, 8th inning, other than Ricky Henderson.
Oh, he was special.
I don't know. I mean,
maybe a bomb. Maybe
Ozzie Smith,
a triple.
Oh, yeah. I loved Ozzie, but offensively,
are you
Ozzie
crazy?
Big time.
He was a clutch player.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about.
Clutch,
and he's a 300 guy.
So it's not like a guy, but
he give you a big bomb. He doesn't even hit for power. He will give you a bomb.
And he's cool now.
And he's the coolest guy in the world. We can hang out with Ozzie. Oh my God, he's the best guy ever. Talk to you about the game.
He is the most amazing guy.
And there's nobody else in this vein. I mean, we go back to baseball. Unfortunately, guys, it always comes back to baseball.
Sorry. My inputs.
With this, whoever this bozo is that didn't vote for Derek Jeter to get in the Hall of Fame,
he ought to be ashamed of himself.
He sure should, and he should reveal himself. Mike Friars, I have a question for you. Who didn't vote for Derek? Forget the Astros. Who didn't vote for Derek Jeter? Because what I will say is sides, no sides, whatever else. If Derek Jeter was on that Yankee squad, they would have got it done. Or if he was on that Dodger squad, they would have got it. I don't care if you got the sides or whatever else. That dude was going to figure out how to get it done.
He found a way.
Always. And the only thing that I got into it talking to somebody on Twitter the other day, they were talking about the Jeter, and I was like, first ballot, like without, no, it should be unanimous. And I said, but they said, hey, where do you have Jeter? I was like, off the top of my head, he's in my top 5, top 10 for shortstops. I said, he's nowhere near the Wizard.
No.
I don't know anybody. So now you got two things that you're going to have to think of. One was your favorite fighter. You already gave it. Oh, you gave Sugar Ray. I don't know anybody in any other sport who is clearly the greatest at their position, more so than Oswald Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah.
I don't know anybody you could say he is the best pitcher of all time. He is the best quarterback of all time.
Oh, no, but he is the shortstop.
He is the best shortstop of all time, bar none.
Yeah. He is, and there were guys who were special. I mean, you look at guys like Omar Vizquel who played in.
Look at Barry Larkin. If Barry Larkin doesn't play when Ozzie Smith is playing, we're talking about Barry Larkin like maybe the greatest shortstop of all time.
Right, but
his numbers are crazy. He's a world champion.
Yep.
He's clutch. You know what I mean?
See, but the time period too, because like Ozzie would come out and do the backflip.
It's beautiful.
Right, beautiful. Nowadays, no one would let him do that.
They tried to stop him then.
I know,
and they couldn't stop him.
But now.
But what about him throwing his arm out and still being able to? Oh,
throw your arm out and you're still a monster.
And
he used to have a hose.
Oh, an unbelievable
San Diego.
arm.
He brought that out, throwing it on the run like that.
He brought it out. He brought it to the league.
He brought it to the league.
He
led the league.
Bounce that thing on the turf.
90, 50, 40. Speaking of which, while we're online right now, LeBron James just passed Kobe Bryant on the all-time scoring list.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah,
and that is a big deal.
I think he's on track. 21-22 season to pass Malone, and then 22-23 to potentially make a run if he stays for Kareem. If he stays on the same trajectory. Wow. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
He is the best all around player. Like,
the most complete player we've ever seen in basketball.
Because Magic's career got cut short. So
it's unfortunate. Because I personally think Magic Johnson, and I am not and was not a Laker fan.
No.
If there's somebody I would not bet against, it is. I'm talking about all time. It is Magic Johnson. Yeah. Magic Johnson could do it all,
and that's the thing.
And clutch.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the only knock I ever have, and I love LeBron James. The only knock I ever have is because I don't like LeBron in the clutch. That's the only problem I have with him.
The problem everybody has with LeBron in the clutch is exactly what we would tell if you were a coach, you'd tell your team, and exactly what you would ask a player is make the right basketball play, not the right ego play. But then at the end of the game, you're like, you're the man.
And that's always the right basketball play.
Right?
I need you. You being the man is always the right basketball play.
But
that's an American. That's an American thing.
Don't give it to Dudley.
Don't give it to Dudley.
But this is something that I said back. I told him offline before. It's just that I feel like LeBron not having a father might play into that a little bit.
He brought it. This is a great point.
But it goes back to what we talked about earlier. That's all the more the reason that what he's done as a man is even more impressive, right?
Really, it sure is.
Because
usually that goes the other way.
And he's made no excuses about it.
Right.
You don't ever hear him complain about it or whine about it. I didn't have an example or nobody taught me how to do this. The man steps up and is a man's man in an
all the way around.
Ruiz.
Right?
Except at the end of the game where he needs to get the alpha male and he's not doing it. I live with it because
you have to appreciate the rest
I've
of his
always
work.
stood for him, even when he came out of high school.
He just needs one shooter.
Yeah.
He just needs one guy to hide in the corner.
Or if it's not a shooter, I actually think he needs a closer.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't think he needs.
Well, that's where Kyrie.
I don't think that's why it's Kyrie. He just needs one piece, which isn't something to be. Nothing to be ashamed of or to knock him.
Okay,
because if you look at all of these other guys that he's always in the conversation with, they're all on monster squads.
See, and
monster squads.
I love Davis. But
Kobe and Shaq squad was a monster squad. If nothing else,
Karl Malone,
and forget
Jordan.
about Kareem. Forget about Shaq.
Yeah.
The rest of the team is a monster squad.
Ori and all those guys. I mean, Fisher, everybody. But
Glenn Rice, Rick Fox.
Can Kuzma be that guy?
No.
And
they shouldn't have got rid of Brandon Ingram. That's what they shouldn't have done.
Well,
but it didn't work.
They didn't think he was ever going to be athletic.
They never gave him a chance.
Physical enough. They thought he was too slight.
Well, the thing is that mentally it was never going to work. There's a mental component to this that I think that one thing that I'm watching and from talking to the NBA guys that I talk to, one thing that's really interesting is the LeBron effect. Mm-hmm. And the LeBron effect is different than the Jordan effect or the Kobe effect, where actually the guys seem like terrible teammates to have from a fan perspective. You're like, man, I wouldn't really want to play with that guy, but he is going to help me get the ring. And chances are, because I'm under so much pressure, I am going to make the shot, or I am going to do this, or I am going to do that. The way that it gets kind of sold to me is it's not that with LeBron, because the shadow of LeBron, the man, and LeBron, the global supernova superstar, is so great that he's always protected and can do no wrong, even when he's playing GM and he's playing coach and he's playing all that stuff, which actually is wrong. Right. So you can never
win.
You just can never win.
Yeah.
At which point that doesn't make you want to be on his team, despite the fact that you would think everybody should want to be on the best player's team.
You went down the rabbit hole.
I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't mean to. Back to boxing.
You good, Ernie?
So
get Ernie.
One thing that happened is that you see we got another striking of the Mexican meat apparently.
Who's got it?
Alexandra Jimenez, who won that big fight the other week when Franchon when her wig came off and her trainer said, "You forget that wig. you want your wig or you want these belts?
So you want about to eat with Canelo?"
Well, it wasn't her. It wasn't Franchon. It was the girl who beat her. Who, if you notice, if you follow Mauricio from the WBC, he put out a statement affirming her because a bunch of people, including Clarissa Shields and others, were like, "Yeah, I'd like to see some paperwork that she was born a woman and blah 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 blah." Geez. She's got a buzz cut, and so it got ugly for a second, like as though the league thought there was suspicion on whether or not what her gender was. Then, in a striking turn of events, Mauricio came out and was like, "Hey, don't do this." He addressed all of the boxers. He said, "Don't do this. Don't disrespect her. Don't disrespect the sport. She
good
won
for
the
Mauricio.
fight." Yeah. He came out and said it. Unfortunately, but also good for Mauricio, her VADA sample just came up dirty. Her post-fight VADA sample just came up dirty, and she took all of her belts,
which would explain
a lot. And so,
once again, we're back to cheating.
This is the theme of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, again, especially in a sport like boxing, cheating is literally
life and death.
You're literally the potential to kill somebody.
We spoke to Deontay Wilder about it.
We talked to Bomb Squad about it, Deontay Wilder, because, for a while, it really shortened his growth as a fighter.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get a fight. He couldn't get any rounds.
Everybody's testing dirty.
Yep.
And then the next thing you know, it's been 9 months and he hasn't been in the ring.
Yeah, because there's nobody to fight because everybody
tests dirty because they want to make sure that they got the best possible chance against the knockout artist.
Right.
All right, moving on. Actually, the homie is in action tonight. Ava Knight, she's a wonderful person. She's doing Bellator tonight at the Forum and on the same card as Chris Cyborg. I'm not much for MMA, but that to announce that that's happening. Two pieces that I want to cover. The last two pieces. One,